in general, we look to double the investor's money in 5 years.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another best ever short video. I'm joined by Joe Fairless. How you doing today?
Doing well.
Good. Let's jump right into it. We just finished a video where I asked you about questions you get from potential investors. Now I'd like to ask about questions you ask them to qualify them because, well, I know that you've turned down investors before, and maybe I'll ask about that, but first, what kind of questions do you like to ask to get to know them?
Well, it depends on the circumstance that I'm getting, how I came across them, or they came across me. Typically, at this point, 95% of the people come through my website or through referrals.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they fill out a form on my website. It's investwithjoe.com. They fill out that form, and in that form it says, asks for first name, last name, phone number, email, how they heard about me, and most importantly, a little bit about themselves. So they fill out that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a drop-down menu that shows, or where they select their level of investment that they're looking to do. So once I receive that form, I know a little bit about them, I know their investment level, and that gives me some context going into the conversation. Some people write one sentence looking for cash flow and passive income. Other people tell me about their family situation and other things. And that helps with two things. One, helps me learn about whatever they said. And two, based on what they wrote and how they wrote it, it helps me understand where their mindset's at and what their approach will be for our conversation. As far as when we jump on a call, the conversation, basically I just ask that to have a little bit more context about their background. So I'd love to get to know them. So please tell me more about your background. And then I will listen and then ask follow-up questions that based on what they say. They come up. And their follow-up questions based on my genuine interest in what they said. If they talk about a business that they founded, then I'm curious about that. I want to know. If they talk about, going to law school or paying off loans, student loans, or med school or whatever, then I'll ask them about whatever they talk about. After I ask follow-up questions, then I'll ask them most of the time I'll ask what's your ideal passive investment look like, and then I'll learn what they focus on from a passive investment standpoint, and then I'll let that drive the conversation because that's what their priorities are. So for example, if they say, I'm focused on making X amount, 9% return or 10% return, then I'll talk about how we structure our deals. The 8% preferred return, 70-30, limited partners 70, general partners 30. And in general, we look to double the investor's money in 5 years, which includes the profits from the sale.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about other things too as that conversation flows. So really high level, it's just really two things. One is ask them to talk about their background so I can learn more. And then two is ask them about their ideal passive investment. And then I guess the third would be ask them if there are any specific questions I can answer for them, or if they wanted me to just talk about high level what we do. Typically, I don't need to ask that third thing because typically they'll just start asking questions. But if they don't, if there's an awkward pause or something, then I'll mention it.
Initiate that.
Yes. Well, sometimes silence is a good thing because we've addressed everything. Those conversations can be anywhere between 7 minutes to 30 minutes.
Depending on if you're talking to a surgeon or engineer or an entrepreneur.
Yep.
So one thing I know that you've asked me on phone calls when we've had calls, I think before I was actually working for you and I wanted to work for you. And you would say, what is your expected outcome for this call?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you do on these calls?
No, I don't on these calls because I already know what their outcome is, and it's to get to know the company.
That's true.
Yeah, so we're already clear on what the outcome is. It's just a get to know you conversation. And in the email, so they'll submit information on my website, and then in the email back to them, I'll include our company information within a PDF, not showing them any deal that we have currently open, but all of our approach, our business strategy, our case studies, etc. And then I'll say, looking forward to getting to know you, and in the meantime, here's some information about my company.
Okay. So I think one big lesson I just took away from that is to have a website or something where they're going and filling something out to where you don't have to, ask too many things to figure that background part out. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's probably a big help on your calls.
Yeah, absolutely, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so let's assume that someone doesn't have that set up. Mm-hmm. Let's assume that someone that you met someone at a meetup or something, and you had they said, great, I'm interested in what you're doing, but you didn't get to talk to them for very much or very long. Then you get their email address, you email them that night or the next day with your company PowerPoint presentation, or make it a PDF. Send it to them. Say, oh, by the way, here's some more info on my company. I know you had expressed interest. I'd love to jump on a call and get to know you a little bit more. We didn't get to catch up as much as I think was necessary, mm-hmm. For us to see if there's alignment.
Right.
And then you got the send them the info, and then you're off and running.
And then I know questions come up about about your properties and your business plans, which is something else I wanted to ask you about. But I think for the purpose of this video, we'll wrap this one up. Shoot another one asking about your business plans and your current properties. So everyone watching this one, thank you for tuning in. We have a newsletter you can subscribe to at bestevernewsletter.com to get more tips like this every week in your inbox.